Hello, guys. Good day. This is Anna for Reinforcement Club, your fellow positive reinforcer. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite thing about Filipinos. This is called close family ties. Nuclear from nuclear family to extended family. I used to live and I even grew up with from an extended family. So in one home, I live with my grandma, my dad, my mom, in a few years' time. And I got my aunts there, who's looking after me at the same time. And as I grow older, my aunts also brought their, kids with them. So I live with my cousins, my aunt, and my dad, as well as my grandma. So I grew up from an extended family. And some of my relatives are just around the neighborhood. So it's easier to get in touch with them. So the thing about close family ties in the Philippines is that it's actually a part of necessity. What I feel about when I was younger, it's actually feels great to go home and see my cousins, play with them, have fun with them. Although we have good times and bad times, but it's really nice to go home with people who welcomes you. The way I love bringing foods, whatever I got from school or wherever I'm from, and bring it to my aunts, and they'll be happy enough to have them. I always love to go home every effing day, regardless of what kind of days I had before. I always love to go home because, especially bringing something home. It could be, yeah, especially food though, and then we eat together. So I am here to share about the beauty of close family ties of us, Filipinos. I'm an only child, but I grew up with an extended family, and it's fun, super fun, to the point that we're all grown ups. Now my dad and my aunts, they live together in a place where they could be just neighbors. And in special occasions and every day, my dad eats with my aunt. So to have a good time, nice conversations, decision making time for a company too. Because I live abroad now. And in that place, my cousins are still hanging out there. They still go home there. They still love to get in touch and have our family around. Now, one good thing about this kind of close family ties among Filipinos is that it's a this so-called multi-generational living is common in the Philippines. Well, it's not about the socio-economic status that we have there. Even the well-off people, they still want to have their relatives, their sisters living just within the neighborhood as much as possible, or just few minutes away from home. Now, what usually happens in this multi-generational living is that in one household there is grandparents. Even in my neighbors, we have them. There is the grandparents. We call them lolo and lola, grandpa and grandma, and we have our parents and the grandchildren. Sometimes the sometimes if there's an extra space, the great grandchildren are they're still there. If the house is big enough, too big enough to occupy the entire generations of family, and it's actually existing in the Philippines. And what do we do every day? Of course, it's nice to eat. I mean, it's when you eat together as family, as far as I can remember, though, it's nice, it's fun having conversation about our days, and it's nice because it's daily interaction, and of course for the entire household, it's shared responsibilities, and the emotional closeness that you have for each other as family, as a big nuclear or extended family. Now, since this multi-generational living has impacted each of the household in the Philippines, so there is a strong emphasis on respect and hierarchy. So those cousins that I have, I'm an only child. I respect my older cousins, when we were younger. So my older cousins, they can command me to clean the house, to clean the room, to wash the dishes. And it depends on the training, though. It all depends on how you get along and how you communicate your shared responsibilities at home. But in the most part, we all respect the elders. We learn to be polite to them by saying the words po and opo, that is in Tagalog. Thank you po. So yes po. So po and opo. Or we show our respect to the elders by grabbing their hands and then putting them on our forehead. That is mano po. This blessing hands. Or some families, like my grandparents are all gone now. My aunt, she just put her hands over my head like that. Bless you. So that's just a culture, culture of respect and love, as well as warmth, that we do care for each other. And elders are often the source of wisdom and guidance in the family. Their say, whatever they say about the problem, whatever their decision, does matter. Whatever their perspective about the problems, we listen to our elders and the family. And the best part of it is that living in a in an extended or nuclear family, is that the best part is the shared meals where the family unite together. That's the best part. I love that. And before, it happened every day when I was young, and I love it. I can't forget it. And as I grow older, to the time that I finally had my job, I love to go home bringing foods, and just my cousins will just eat them all. And yes, indeed, we dined together, where we shared our stories, and it's some kind of a generational bond. Gatherings, which happens almost every day. And if only I have I have the wealth, I have the right money, but actually, I could just do my part, but I would love to have that extended family, or a family that lives together in one compound, just like my friends does. Their families are just living in one compound, and whoever mess with them, they're gonna pay for it. So as we dine together, we do the storytelling, the whereabouts in our work and our love life, friendship, and as part of the deal, in moments wherein we eat together as family, those are the perfect times wherein our elders will share their stories about their family struggles and life lessons. Wherein my grandma, before, she used to tell us that how she goes to school from one mountain to another mountain without a flip flops, without a slipper, and without a bag. It's just a cellophane, and one notebook. How she struggled to go to school in order to learn, and her life lessons. And my elders are telling us that how lucky we are these days that it's just on the screen. But they somehow they couldn't get it that we all have our problems in this generation. So they have the problems before, but we have problems too this time in a different way. And somehow those life lessons and family struggles over generations, we heard them all the time. How they come up with solutions, how how my elders were raised, how my great grandfather raised them so that they can finally be successful. So it's a story which you can hear over and over again. But before I find it like reiterating, and then I find it like somehow I could say to myself, why should I listen to this? But you know, there came a day wherein I would love to listen to it again and again and again because I miss those moments. But somehow I was in those moments. And I did listen, I did my part. Somehow I was there and I did enjoy it. It's just that I miss it. I miss the family gatherings of an extended family. I do. And the way we make decisions before are quite, collective. We're in, you know, like in major choices like education. You know, my cousins graduated in a, from, graduated under secondary schooling in this school, which is around 15 to 20 minutes walking distance from our home. So I got my four cousins finished in that school. So as you know, I decided to go to that school because I heard good things from them. So my cousins finished their school from that institution as well as my uncle. So yes, indeed, take the box. I'm one of the alumni in that school, other than some of my family members. Also, as part of collective decision making, my cousins, aunts, they have something to say about finances and marriage. They always, we're actually open to each other, and we discuss it in mealtime, in snack time, and it happens over over our generations, from my grandparents to my aunts to my generation to my cousins, younger cousins. It all happens almost the same thing, and our how we value savings, and it's almost the same as with other families in the neighborhoods. My neighbors, they're actually parents leave their parents leave in one house, and then they're just their kids, grown up kids, build another house just beside them. So we live in the province now. So that's actually what's still quite common. The multi-generational living, or some sort of nuclear family. And on the other side, you know, parents are still there. Plus, their kids, their grown-up kids, married kids, with their children, grandchildren, they live together. Not just about for survival of the crisis, but it's part of the culture. And what I also like about this so-called extended family, nuclear family, or multi-generational living in the Philippines is that elders help raise the young, or vice versa. So this is how it goes. My grandma used to mind me before, and when my aunts have time, they mind me. And by the time that my aunts finally have their kids, I used to mind their kids. So that's what actually happened. Grandparents care for young children while the grown-up children, look after my grandparents. Those my working parents, they sustain my grandparents financially. So we just help each other survive financially and emotionally. And even to the point that some of us are already, working abroad, we still get connected to our loved ones, our family. So this time my dad is living in one area wherein he could just walk like a minute, 2 minutes walk to my aunt's. But I couldn't leave a day without talking to my dad. So yeah, we always get in touch every day, send money to our family, and even the so-called balikbayan box where we put in chocolates or any branded shirts and shoes to send it to our family in the Philippines. So it's all existing. Even my friends here in Europe, in Ireland, nearly Christmas, they start putting in some gifts in the box, and it will be sent to the Philippines maybe around October or September, so that the box will arrive before Christmas. And on Christmas Day, they're gonna open the box, and there you go, Merry Christmas. Sorry about that. And as a multi-generational family living, living together, we all have shared faith and values. You know, going to church every Sunday. Although some of us, some of my family, we don't actually adhere to that rules, but my cousins this time, most of them, except me, they go to church every Sunday. Every Sunday. And Filipino in Philippines, 95% of the people are Catholics. We all have this so-called shared moral and spiritual bond. Although I don't go to church, my cousins talk about, during dinner time, lunchtime, or dinner time, we eat together when I go home in the Philippines. They share what is the reading of the day, what actually the sermon of the priest. And after that, that's part of our conversation. After that, we can talk about some other stuff then. So, yeah, and this kind of culture has have been passed over generations, wherein we help each other. We help our parents financially, emotionally, at the best of our ability. That we are all working this time, and even my cousins minding their sisters kids. It's the same thing that happened when I was younger, and how my parents, my aunt, my grandma, grandpa raised us, look after us. It's been passed over generation. It's still happening this time, and I love it. I do love it. And as Filipino, I do believe, on behalf of the Filipino people, I do believe that family is forever. Family is forever, and it's more than money. What are we gonna do with money, though? Money can be, if you get broke today, you can take it back. But the time and moments and your parents, your kids, the lost time, you can't take it back anymore. So I would, I'm actually proud of that culture. Although there are some downsides having that culture, somehow it's gonna stop your growth and wherever. But after all, it all boils down to personal choices. That you always have a choice. You can stay or leave and come back. But most importantly, though, you always have a place called home. You can always come back home to mommy and daddy. If the world is tough on you, I always have a place home to come back to my dad and my aunts again. And whenever I go home to Philippines, I feel like when I hang out with them, I still feel like my grandma are still around, grandpa are still around. So I'd say that kind of culture in my family wouldn't stop though. It's forever and ever, amen. From grandparents to grandchildren to great grandchildren, we all keep together, and to share emotional bond as well as our culture, moral, and deep spiritual lessons or practices, traditions, whatever you call it. And although there could be downsides in close family ties, but I would say, look, it's fun. It's always going to be fun. And I love it in such a way that I know in my heart, or just like everybody else, that, when the world, when we're heartbroken, we always have a place to come back to mom and dad and be looked after by them. Like, like when we were a child before. And that's one of the close family ties, is one of the culture which I'm proud about. Because I could see the difference living abroad and in the Philippines. Although social economically it's tough to be living in the Philippines having an ordinary job. But after all, we still survive though. And it's really, heartwarming to come home and see people around happy to see you. Hey, what's up? You're home. So I hope I shared something valuable today though. Family stuff. And I miss it. If you ever love this episode, you can share it to family and friends. You can follow me in YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even in Amazon Music. By the way, this is Ann, your fellow positive reinforcer. I do appreciate your time and have a lovely day ahead. Thank you.